Thanks for joining us. 14 and a half minutes now after 7 o'clock. Joining me now, Superintendent Luke de Freitas, the head of the Major Crime Unit of the Royal St. Lucia Police Force. Superintendent, good morning. Thanks for waking up early and thanks for agreeing to join us, sir.
Good morning, Shannon. Good morning to the listeners as well.
Right. Some major successes registered by law enforcement here on the island in recent times. Of course, kudos to all the hardworking men and women of the Royal St. Lucia Police Force. Number one on the list this morning, the major bust at Port Castries. What's the latest? We understand that an individual is in your custody. What next in the investigation?
Of course, this investigation is very young, and I have to be careful in letting too much out of the bag too early. But as you would have learned earlier, these firearms were discovered in a barrel at Port Castries by customs officials. The police have joined in the investigation, and yes, an individual is presently in custody. These investigations can be very complex, as they may go beyond our borders, and so at this point it is a bit difficult to say where this investigation will go, but certainly we will be seeking the assistance of our partners across borders to bring this thing to some kind of closure.
Are you in a position this morning to tell us the origin of the barrel and the guns and ammunition found?
We have not confirmed. But preliminary investigations would suggest that it may have come from the U.S.
From the United States. Okay. Excellent collaboration between your officers at the Royal St. Lucia Police Force and Customs and Excise. Speak to us. How did that work?
Of course, like I alluded to earlier, it was a routine inspection by the Customs Department, which uncovered the illegal goods. Of course, when this happens, it is the Royal St. Lucia Police Force to really dig deep into the circumstances surrounding such incidents, and so we were informed by the Customs and Excise Department of the discovery rather, and we have initiated an investigation, like I said.
So we're learning firearms. We're also learning ammunition. What sort of caliber of weapons are we talking about, and how powerful are these weapons for our ordinary citizens to get an appreciation of the threat that we were dealt with?
Okay, two of them are actually high-powered rifles, 5.56. Usually here in our local quarters, we speak of weapons such as the M16 rifle, which has a very excessive range. And yes, if these weapons do fall into the hands of the wrong persons, serious carnage can result.
High-powered automatic weapons?
Yes, they are.
Have you done your count on the ammunition which were discovered quantity-wise?
There were varying calibers, like I said in the press release, but of note were the 30 rounds of 5.56. This is what is used with these high-powered weapons that we speak of.
These aren't civilian handguns for persons who would have license permits. These are combat machines, are they?
Yes, they are. These are not weapons for which licenses would be issued by any licensing board. These are really military, paramilitary, police weapons, really.
How concerning is that for our small 238 square miles St. Lucia, that individuals are seeking to import these weapons illegally, weapons of that magnitude, which can possibly go toe-to-toe with what exists with law enforcement?
Yes, it is highly concerning, Shannon, and more so the whole origin, the ability of persons to access these weapons and to import them by numbers. We are not seeing these weapons coming in, just a single weapon, but from what we've seen, people seem to have access to these weapons by the numbers, by the dozens. And our intel would tell us that these weapons are here on island in large numbers. And so, yes, it is concerning. And law enforcement, we're trying our best again with other agencies to see how best we can curb the influx of these weapons into the island.
You have your intel, but things like a possible K9 unit, reintroduction, scanners at our ports, these things can go a long way in beefing up your efforts as well.
Certainly, Shannon, but that is not to say that our criminals, our bad elements do not find ways, to go around all the systems, and even if they're in place. And so we too need to be very innovative with how we approach this situation. Of course, it cannot be us alone as the island. We need to also combine our efforts with our regional partners, with our international partners to deal with the situation. So the ideal would be to have these weapons intercepted even before they were to come on island, where we would not have the need actually to go looking for it here in St.Lucia, but that we have the ability, with the assistance from our regional and international counterparts, to intercept these weapons. I suppose in the course of the importation or export from whichever country they come.
An important find. What's the morale like amongst the men and women of the Royal St. Lucia Police Force following this bus?
Well, I do not want to use the word elated, but we are quite happy that we would have intercepted these weapons before they got to the streets. Like I said, we are all concerned. I suppose it would have to be both as a police organization and by extension the citizenry, because these weapons the effect is for all, even us as a police organization. We would have to be confronting persons out there with these weapons, and so it places our lives at risk. I mean, it places the lives of lives of persons in our communities at risk. So it is we cannot speak just for ourselves, but we have to speak for the country at large. The threat that this influx of firearms into the country is posing, it is a regional problem, as it is now, and like I said, it is really for the region to come together, try to combat this rising issue.
The citizens have a role to play as well. On this occasion, you were successful with your intelligence on a routine operation by customs. But members of the public have a very important role to play. Speak to public assistance in your efforts as law enforcement officials.
Certainly, Shannon, we've always called on the public to assist. We've always called on the public to share whatever information that they have with regards to the commission of any crime in this country. Of course, we know the challenges we have where the public confidence in the police has been eroded. We are trying to build that back. We're working very meticulously to get the buy-in from the public and to regain the support. We are making strides in that regard, and we are hoping that in the coming months and years that can only get better. But certainly, yes, we continue to appeal to our public to please share the information. We have often said that identities of persons giving information to the police will be kept at the most confidential level. We are really not into the business of putting out information there on persons who would have given us any kind of info. Sadly, that is the large perception out there. But I want to dispel that. That is not to say that from time to time our members do not falter. But by and large, I want to dispel that rumor that we are a force that goes out there and puts the life of our informants at risk. We try to keep very confidential, any identities of our informants, and I really have to again appeal to the public to continue to support the police. Without your support, the fight against our criminal elements here in this country is going to be very difficult.
You have a long day ahead, so just two more questions quickly from us. Some more success for your men and women closer to the closure of one recent homicide on the island. You reported yesterday that 2 teens aged 17 have been arrested and formally charged with causing the death of the Bruceville resident by way of a shooting incident last month. How much did community intel play in your success with that case?
Oh yes, our success in this matter hinged a lot on information from the public, I can tell you. Were it not for several pieces of information that we got and were able to piece together, we probably would not have been where we are today with this matter. And so, in that regard, I want to thank those members of the public who called in with information, who allowed us the time to sit and interview them and so on. That went a very long way in our success with this matter.
Superintendent, you have kids yourself, yes?
Yes, I do.
These boys are 17. From a father and from a law enforcement officer, how worrying is that? You have kids that age having access to firearms, committing these sort of crimes. Are they mules? And how concerning is this? Have we reached a very sad and dark place in St. Lucia?
We are not at a good place, but I am optimistic that we can pull back on what is happening now. Yes, young men at the age of 17, it speaks to how accessible illegal firearms are in this country. Whether they own it or whether they rent them or whether they're given to them to go perpetrate these offenses, these are all possibilities. But like I said, it speaks to how easy it is to access a firearm. It speaks to the mindset of our youth that they could go so far. Of course, there may be some kind of coercion by maybe older folk for who they may be, like you rightly say, being used as mules. All these have come into the equation, and yes, it is very worrisome, and especially our young men. That is the route they have taken. There seem to be something about the guns that appeal to our young men, and I guess we have a lot of educating to do. There's a lot of work to be done by other departments other than the Royal St. Lucia Police Force.
Comforting, I know, to many citizens that you believe and you are confident that we can pull back on the current situation. So we look forward to your continued efforts. Superintendent, as you go, the individual now in custody for that guns fine, has he been charged? Is there a schedule yet to charge? And what charges are expected to be preferred?
Okay, like I said, it is early days yet in the investigation, and to speak of charging now is a bit premature.
Understood.
I can tell you. Of course, with the amendments to our Firearms Act, we are now equipped to charge persons with the offense of trafficking in firearms, and that is where they've come across borders, or whether they're sending them out from St. Lucia out elsewhere. So the amendments to our Firearms Act now afford us the opportunity to investigate this matter as a trafficking in firearms matter. The penalties have been stiffened. I mean, there's argument as to whether the stiffened penalties may or may not, help deal with the situation as is. But like I said, I am optimistic that we have not gone beyond a point where we can pull this thing back. We are hoping to make some more success in the coming days in some of these serious matters that we are investigating. Mm-hmm. And like I say, we can only call on the support of the public and other persons who have information that can help us significantly with our progress in a lot of our major investigations.
We thank you, Superintendent, for joining us. Superintendent Luke Freitas for joining us. He is the head of the Major Crimes Unit. A very busy day. And again, kudos to the hardworking men and women of the Royal St. Lucia Police Force.
Thank you, Shannon. Thank you.
Live updates here on Good Morning St. Lucia.